Uh-oh. Interesting here. One thing you got to watch out on this this type of rim tape is sometimes it'll shift, and it's a good thing I caught that, because if the tube gets pushed in here, you'll definitely know. These compass tires are very tight because they're tubeless, so you gotta, sometimes it's better to use tubeless rim tape. Double tubeless rim tape, double wall. You want to use two layers. I've had bad experience with tubeless rim tape in the past where it actually pushed through the spoke holes, and the tube still went flat. Alright, so today we are going with the slick tires. These are a 700 by 44C standard wall compass tire. They're actually branded Compass. I've had these tires for a few years, maybe even 3 or 4 years now. And I only use them once in a while on my hardtail mountain bike. I would switch these out once in a while when I wanted to do a faster mixed terrain ride. That was before I had the current Fit Cycles bike. I would make it my all-road bike once in a while, and it had a front suspension. So anyway, today we're going with this setup. Also, let me grab the handlebar bag. We're going to load this up and we're going to test to see if this bike is going to shimmy on a really fast descent. Okay, so this handlebar bag, this is waxed canvas, so it's the heaviest one that we have. So I want to use this. I want to make this test as objective as I can. Mainly because my bike has lots of other things on it. It has fenders and it has a headlight and a dynamo hub. So it's a little bit heavier than this bike. I think John mentioned when I picked it up that this bike came in around 21 pounds without the rack and pedals. These are Shimano XT pedals, so they're actually not that heavy anyway. So I'd say it's probably sitting around, with the rack, it's probably rack and pedals, probably roughly 23 pounds. This bag weighs about 4 pounds. And then we'll put some heavy stuff in here. I'll probably bring this camera and something else. I want to try to weigh this thing as heavy as I can, just to be objective, because the weight matters when the bike starts to shimmy, the front weight especially. I know I mentioned in the last video that I thought I would talk first about the ride characteristics, but I think what I'll do instead is do these specific little runs where I test the weight and the shimmy. I also have an off-road course I plan to ride. I'm going to do a bunch of different rides first. I think at the end it would make more sense to then discuss the ride characteristics and how it compares. I'm also going to put these bikes side by side so you guys can really get a good sense of the differences in the bikes and the similarities. Okay, so here we are. We're back in the same exact spot where I ran this test last time, where I tested my bike, and I also tested Miss Cool's bike for shimmy. And what we did is we went down this very steep descent, and once we got down to a part where I could actually ride no-handed, I pulled out my camera and I rode no hands, and I tried to film it to show that the bike was actually shimmying or not. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to repeat that same exact test again today, but this time we're doing it on this different custom steel Fitz bike. And if you haven't watched the introduction video, then you probably don't know, but this bike has an oversized down tube. That's what makes this bike a little bit different. And it has a higher trail. I did check the trail using the online trail calculator this morning, and it comes out to right around 59 to 60, depending on which exact tires you have. So we have the 44 millimeter slick tires on today, so the trail is actually a little bit lower, but compared to what it was with the knobby 48s. But we're still really close to that 60 mark, which is kind of the typical spot for most bikes these days. The other thing I'll mention is that on this bike, we don't have fenders, a dynamo hub, or a headlight. So in order to try to compensate for the weight, I've chosen to use this heavier randonneering bag, which is a waxed canvas bag. It tends to be a little bit heavier, and I stuffed it with some things. I have a short sleeve jersey, a wool jersey type of thing in here. I'll be carrying the camera. That camera weighs at least 3.5 pounds with the lens on it, and a few other things. So I've got a sandwich and some apples, and I'll just re-say that. So I have a few other things to put in. I have a few things to put in here to help, even out the weight a little bit. So I have an apple. I have a sandwich. I'll have that camera that Miss Cools is holding, which is about 3.5 pounds or so with the lens on it. And I have an extra jersey in here. And a battery. So I think overall the weight's going to be comparable. It may not be exact, but it should be enough to see if this bike will shimmy or not. All right, here we go. Let's go ahead and show you. So we've got the apple, we got this sandwich here, got the camera, the lens, and a jersey down here. And I've got Miss Cool's jersey up on the front, and I've got a spare camera battery in here. So should be, I would guess, somewhere close to 7 pounds, hopefully. In fact, I could throw this water bottle in there too. That's a good idea. I'm gonna put this water bottle camera, but okay, so we also put this water bottle, it's about 3/4 full in there as well. Well, it shimmies, but much more controlled. Okay, we made it back from our ride today, and I put out all 3 of John Fitzgerald's bikes here so we could see how they all look together. I'll step out of the way and you can see them. I think Miss Cool's bike is probably the only one that isn't getting a fair view because it's not totally level. So how's that? So you can kind of see the difference here between these 3 bikes. And it's interesting how the fenders on this bike give the illusion of bigger wheels. But then when your eye pans over to these, you can definitely see the difference in the wheel diameter. You can also notice the top tube height here. This is slightly sloped, and so is Miss Cool's. But mine has the level top tube. Now we did do the test today where we checked for shimmy, and we were able to get, I was able to get the new bike here to shimmy with the front load, but I went ahead and ran it on a different downhill, roughly the same speed without the handlebar bag, and I was not able to get it to shimmy. And the difference in the shimmy between the two is that when the bike in the middle, the one with the oversized down tube, when it shimmied, it didn't shimmy uncontrollably. It seemed like it would wiggle, but it wouldn't get really, really violent. Whereas with mine, or with my bike on the left-hand side here, it will shimmy to the point where it just gets kind of uncontrollable. So I think that of the three bikes, Miss Cool's bike was the only one that we did not get to shimmy at all, and that's probably a lot to do with the oversized top tube. And then the other two bikes, having the slightly flexible top tubes, still tends to shimmy, even if even regardless of the trail that the bikes have. I did double check the trail. Again, it's about 59 millimeters on the middle bike. It's about 32 millimeters on my custom bike on the left, and then Miss Cool's is right around 40, 41. So, in summary for this, I would say that if shimmy is a problem for you and you're not interested, you don't want any kind of shimmy, then I think the best choice would be to go with an oversized top tube and then choose the down tube based on how stiff you want the bottom bracket to feel. If you're okay with a little bit of shimmy that doesn't actually cause any kind of overboard, an over amount of shimmy, then I would say the oversized down tube and the more flexible top tube is a good choice because it gives you kind of the best of both worlds. It stiffens up the bottom bracket area, but it still gives you a little more of that upright, comfortable feel where you're floating a little bit on the handlebars. That's kind of a nice feeling, especially on rough surfaces. And then if you just want the ultimate in flex, then the standard bike is probably a good choice. So anyway, I guess that's going to summarize this video today. We are going to do maybe another video, one more, where I'm going to just talk about the difference in ride handling and just the way it feels in the next video. So anyway, hope you guys enjoy this one, and I'll see you soon.